I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about what depression's really like, what self-harm actually is, that kind of the people looking out from the outside tend to want to stereotype and put things into boxes because it's much safer when things are in a box. It's a lot easier to not have to actually grasp with the reality of what it is. And the reality of it, in my opinion, from what I've found talking with audiences across the country, is that it's almost universal. This sense
Mm,
of self longing, that the self-immolation. I'm not good enough inside, and I need to burn myself apart to fit my world. And that
right.
kind of feeling, it can express itself in multiple ways. And if it's not, if the kindness and goodness isn't cultivated, and if the darkness is pushed forward and applauded, and the anger and aggression is kind of the lifestyle, then that vocabulary of aggression and darkness just grows. It grows from that one sentence that I'm not good enough to everybody's not good enough to the everybody hates me to I hate me to, and I hate me is one of the worst sentences that can happen. Because as soon as you start hating yourself, you when you hate yourself enough, you come to the conclusion that you're worthless and you're nothing, and then you do everything you can to make everybody agree with you. And that is a very terrible spot to be.
That is really interesting. Actually, this afternoon I have these writing calls with people that are undergoing these creative projects, and there was one girl I was chatting to, and we were having a similar conversation to the one you just had about like hating yourself and loving yourself and how you treat people. And it's so true that if you have this internal dialogue that I'm unlovable and this is your worldview, I think we end up taking actions towards people that kind of create the environment for what we think inside our head. Like she was telling me that she
Hmm.
would be dating guys in the past, and she's trying to undo these sorts of habits now, and she's been quite successful. But saying that like she would just be in relationships with like super toxic guys, and she would just be even treating them terrible, or even if she met a great guy, she'd be treating him terrible because in her mind, I'm unlovable. So if someone's trying to love you, but you believe you're unlovable, you're just going to act in a way that's going to teach that other person that they can't love you.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that early on in everybody's life, we crave identity. We crave figuring out who we are. Everybody wants to
Right.
figure out who we are. And if the thing that you decide you are is broken, then if anybody sees you as other than that, then you think they're lying. Like if you think I'm
Wow.
good, then obviously you don't see the real me, because the real me is broken and busted. And I'll show you, because this is the real me I know I am. And that's a really hard place to get out of. And it's because to get into it, it takes a lot of trauma. It takes a lot of I think at the base of it, everybody wants to be held and told that you're okay, starting from the base of life, from the beginning of life. And
Right.
if you aren't nurtured and cared for early on, and had your in ways that aren't just hugs and kisses and smiles, but having your dreams actually applauded, and having your the things you like be having you be noticed, because when you aren't noticed, then you start feeling invisible, and you start feeling like you're losing yourself. You'll do what you can to fit into whatever spot you think you deserve. And
Right.
if that's the kids who are told that they deserve to be sports stars, and they want to be jocks, they go up to be sports stars. The kids who are told early on that you deserve to be a cook, and you deserve to be in a restaurant, they'll go to learn to be in a restaurant. If you're told that you deserve to be in a closet, and you deserve to eat nothing but bread, and you deserve to sit in the dark room while everybody else is at the table having fun, like that will be what you think you deserve. And
Wow.
we up until we're age 12 or 13, we're not actually people. I don't think. I think that up until we're 12 or 13, we're sponges. We absorb and interact with everybody around us because we have no agency. You have no agency and no control over anything that you're around. You have no control over what you're eating, what you're watching, who you're around, what the things you're doing, clothes you're wearing, the environment you're in, the time that you spend each day, what you're doing at what time. You have no control over any of that. That's all controlled by other people around you. And
Right.
once you start to get that kind of agency over your life, that first portion of your that first 12 years will really color where you land after that. I haven't seen anybody where that's not the case. I haven't seen anybody, like, I'm just a regular dude, so I don't have a degree talking about this. It's just my experience talking about it. But I've
Sure.
never seen anybody where that's not the case. The things that happened early on in their life didn't affect them forever.
Yeah,
And
I don't think that is the case unless they have some sort of soap opera amnesia
yeah,
at some point. Like, with that said, I think it goes into what I wanted to say about shame. That, like, the people I've met that have been through really traumatic stuff in their past, either that they've perpetrated or that they've had done to them, and they
hmm
carry that around with them, and they don't want to tell anybody. It seems to be this toxic sludge that weighs them down their whole life. But people that kind of open the door and shine that light, as you mentioned, I see them really free themselves because they own it. That, like this happened to me, but it isn't me. And so I
that
was wondering. Go ahead.
that quite literally happened to me. That entire flip happened to me right around 2018 when I came out with my story. Because up until
Okay.
2018, I it wasn't something, my past wasn't something that I ever hid. It just wasn't something I brought up.
Right.
But it wasn't something I've never been ashamed of myself. It was just my identity. And I thought at the time that it was like a black mark, that if anybody ever really found out about all of me, that they'd hate me. And it was like a millstone around my neck. Like, and it caused me to be very unhealthy. I had gained a ton of weight.
Wow.
I was up to almost 500 pounds. I was 478 pounds. Yeah. The same time the same time I did my TED talk, I was also in the process of losing over 200 pounds. So currently I walk around about 280 pounds. And so, yeah, I'm just about 200 pounds down from before.
Amazing.
But that toxicity had eaten me alive, and it had made me mean. And even till 2018, I wasn't outwardly mean, but I would always make self-deprecating jokes and make fun of myself. And I would always like assume that people didn't like me and didn't want me around. And I would assume that I was the burden to everybody. And then when I finally came out, and it was because I had that shame. I hadn't internalized it, and while I wasn't expressing it, it was more of like I had accepted it. It was a
Right.
long-standing residual effect of accepting my negative status when I was a kid early on. I accepted I was the
Huh.
nothing,